Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. I hope you are having an amazing week. I am very excited to be kicking off this Q&A this week because I am super excited. There are so many new faces inside the society and so many who have requested a question for our Q&A. So I'm really excited to dive in and answer all of these amazing questions. If you are new here, if you are joining live, let me know. Just come in here and comment in the bottom of the comments and I will be able to see them. How this normally works, just a little rundown, because there, like I say, there is so many new faces around here. You can ask away if you are here live, ask your questions as we go. Best to ask them here in this thread because I might not see them over on YouTube. And then you can if you are watching on the follow-up, you can ask me any questions just inside the group, post a new question, and I'll definitely see it that way, because sometimes I miss kind of replies on the Q&A threads after the fact. So if you're joining live, ask away in this thread. If you are watching on the replay and have any follow-up questions, just pop a new post inside the society, and I am super excited to help you all. So diving straight in then, let me double check I can actually, definitely got my screen up. And also please let me know you can hear me okay if you are here live, because I've got my fan working overtime next to me here, and hopefully it's not too noisy. So, excuse me. Hi, Mathilde, is it? Hopefully I pronounced that right. Should I delete listings that have no visibility even after making improvements? Okay, so great question. We don't need to delete them. So a lot of the advice that I see around, people kind of telling you that listings are tanking your conversion rate and listings are dragging down your overall shop is a little bit misunderstood sometimes. So if you have a listing that is getting loads and loads of traffic, but it isn't converting, then that's going to pull your overall shop conversion rate down, which isn't really ideal. If you have a listing that is getting no traffic, then there's no traffic to pull down that overall conversion rate because that traffic's at zero, right? If that makes sense. So it's not having any impact on your shop if your listing isn't getting views, right? Now, if it's not getting views, one thing I would say is there's not much point in paying the renewal fee every 4 months. It's only 20 cents, but obviously if you have hundreds and hundreds of listings, that will rack up for listings that are not going to sell. So what I recommend that you do is you don't have listings set automatically to auto renew. You have them set to manual renewal. So let me just pull up my shop and I'll show you what I mean. So if we went into, for example, let's go to this one. If we scroll down to the bottom, when you're setting up a listing, you can see here renewal options, automatic or manual. So if I leave automatic on, even if this doesn't sell, it's going to automatically review on the 9th of November and charge me another 20 cents, right? And it's going to keep doing that every 4 months. If I change this to manual, if this doesn't sell between now and the 9th of November, it will just expire and that will be it. It'll be in my drafts now. It'll be my expired items in my listings, right? It's no longer showing on my shop. So it's usually a good idea to have this set up unless you have products that sell consistently, because then you're not paying to renew it every single time it expires and you're not paying to renew a listing that's not getting anywhere. Because generally in my experience, if a listing tails off after and it stops getting traffic and it doesn't make sales in that 4 months, it's probably not going to just start picking up again magically like in another 4 months time, right? So we would let that one go, let that one expire, and we've looked at improving on new listings, right? And you could just duplicate this listing and make changes on a new version of the listing that's going to give it a better lease of life, and then you can let it expire as you go. There's not really any benefit to going through and deleting them, deactivating them, anything like that right now. You can just let them expire like this. And what's really cool is you can actually come into your listings, you can select 410, so I have currently 410 listings live, and you can come to change renewal options and change everything to manual, right? So then everything that it's going to expire if you don't sell it, right? So that's what I usually recommend. Once you have got listings that are selling quite well, you might want to change it to automatic just on the off chance, I don't know, maybe it sells out and then it goes into sold out and then you forget all about it. I mean, if it sells out, then that's a different story anyway, because we're going to have to renew them, right? But, if you have a listing, I don't know, that sells really, really well for like half of the year and then it goes a bit quieter, it might be that in one period of time it doesn't sell for that 4 months, so it doesn't automatically renew, in which case you might want to switch it back over just so that you don't miss it, or you just keep an eye on your expired tab and you keep checking in on there, which, to be fair, when you've got a lot of listings that are going over into that expired tab because you have set them to manual renew, then you want to be keeping an eye on that anyway, because you want to see what's kind of manually what's kind of expired, and then you can look at that and go, okay, why did it expire? Has it ever sold? Has it started to sell, a little bit at the start and then it's tailed off and stopped selling? And then it's gone into expired, and then we can go, okay, well, why was it selling well and then it stopped? Do we need a new version? Do we need a more modern version? And things like that, right? So I've actually found some of my old bestsellers by doing this process have gone into the expired tab because they have not sold for a month or two and then it's expired. They have gone into the expired tab, and then when I've looked at them, they've just tailed off over time, and I've had to just kind of give them a new lease of life from another listing, right? So that's how I would manage that. I hope that makes sense. And then, is it better to duplicate a listing that isn't performing well or simply update the existing one? Exact same. Hopefully I've answered that question there as well. So I would duplicate it and I would make the copies on the new version, because the thing is, once Etsy kind of has this data on a listing that it is maybe not getting a lot of traffic, it's not getting a great conversion, it's been live for 3 or 4, 5, 6+ months, and it's just kind of not really doing anything. It's very, very rare that Etsy's going to magically just start promoting that listing again, right? So you are going to get a better chance by going, this, I need to change my thumbnails, or I need new tags and titles, or I need to just kind of revamp this listing a little bit to bring it into 2026 if it's been live for a while, for example, which is what I do. I try to do most years with my wedding stationery, making sure I am bringing them up to what the sales are for the current year and things like that. You're going to get a much better result if you do this on a new listing rather than the old one. So always duplicate and update on the old one. Oh, the new one, sorry. Leave the old one alone. And also never change a listing that is performing well, right? So even if you think you need to tweak something, you've got a better thumbnail, things like that, just leave the old one alone, do it on a new version, then you've got 2 chances in search as well. Do you have an example of a well-structured Etsy listing title? So we had this chat, I know I've chatted to you earlier today as well, about listing titles. So there's no hard and fast rules in terms of exact structure you need to follow. But Etsy's current stance on this, Etsy's stance has always been that we should have short, customer-focused titles. But as sellers, we knew that wasn't actually the case over the years. We knew that we would get better visibility by putting loads of keywords into our titles, right? So for years and years, we stuffed loads of keywords into our titles. They have cracked down a little bit more on this now and essentially told us that the weighting of our title is not as important as some of the other elements of our listing anymore, which means that we have got more opportunity to write our titles so that our customer understands exactly what they are getting, and then we can put more SEO kind of strength into our tags, our descriptions, our attributes, things like that instead, right? So I would not worry that you haven't got enough keywords in there, not worry that you haven't got it in the right order or anything like that. The main thing you want to think about is when you come to Etsy and look for your product, the first thing you want to see is this. So first thing you want to consider is this, because this is the first part of the listing title that your customer sees. And now generally Etsy cuts off the title to this first block of words. So your customer wants to immediately be able to see, oh, okay, cool, that's what this product is, right? So set of 2 tarot art prints, custom print foldable fan. Can't get my words out today. Scented Christmas tree candle, right? I can see straight away what the product is. Obviously, I can see that from the image as well. But if it's maybe not 100% clear straight away that this is a mock-up, obviously, again, I can see in the image it is. But say, for example, this person just had this main image here and didn't have the text on it, I might think that this is a physical sign, right? So the fact that I can see mock-up in the title, it just absolutely helps to visualize before I even click into it that it is the right product for me. So that's the first thing that you want to consider. And then what you might want to think about after that is if there is any extra detail that you need to put in your title that makes sense for your customer. So for example, we don't know right now if this is a digital product or a template or a physical product, right? So if I click through to this, I don't know if it is. I haven't, I've obviously looked at this listing at some point. Just full disclaimer for anyone who is new here, anything that comes up in my Etsy page here is usually very random because I'm obviously looking at a lot of shops every single day. So sometimes you'll see crazy things in here that probably don't make any sense. They look quite on brand for me today, though, to be fair. So we want to look at this title and see if this person has done a great job of continuing the conversation with the customer, right? Now, this is a prime example of a title that is written in the old way, right? Because what a lot of sellers saw when they changed their titles was a crash in traffic, right? Because they took away keywords and things like that. So I am not currently recommending, and still not recommending, that anyone changes old titles to take words out. All I'm recommending is going forward, you stick to Etsy's recommendations around the shorter, more customer focused listing title. And inside the society, we have got the, nope, let me get it up. Couldn't remember my own URL then. We have got the listing lab as well, which will walk you through all of this. So let me just pull it up. So inside the copy lab, inside the SEO lab, we have got your title rules here. So what the formula is, you know, a really kind of key part of this. So basically the basic formula, what it is, any key trait or differentiator and any format or occasion, if that's essential. For example, if you are selling a birthday card, you would want to put birthday card in the title. If you are selling a card that could be used for a birthday, but it's actually technically, you know, a get well card, then that doesn't make sense there, right? Or, you know, if it is a product that could be used as a Christmas gift, but it's not a specific Christmas themed product, then you might not need to put Christmas gift in the title. You might want to focus more on the more what it is and key traits or differentiators instead, right? So like I say, there's no hard and fast rules, but we want to just make sure our customer is really clear when they're reading this. And so straight away, I'm looking at this and I'm not actually clear that it is a printed product. Now, when I come to my options here, I can see that, okay, that makes sense because I'm being given sizes. But what I would personally do with this product in particular is I would put something like set of 2 tarot art print, and then I might put celestial girl bedroom decor printed or something like that, or like printed somewhere in the title so that it's really clear. It's more important that we do that when it's a digital download so that people can clearly see if they want a physical product. This is not a physical product, right? Because it's usually quite obvious on Etsy that we are buying a product that is actually physical. It's usually quite obvious from our drop downs. It's not always that obvious when it is just a digital product and it just kind of says like buy now or whatever it says here. And sometimes customers can get confused about that, right? So that's more important to include like digital or printable or what other words, template, anything like that that is clear to your customer that it's not a physical product, right? So more important that way, but you can still add it in if you want to really make it helpful for your customer and clear for your customer that that is what this is. And I would still encourage you to put some keywords in here so that, you know, my advice previously is that we don't need to stuff every keyword in there now, but we still want to use our SEO you know, cleverly in this space where we are hitting our core keywords. So for me, for example, if I say sell wedding table plans, I might put a wedding table plan in there. I might put the word sign in there as well, because that's another big thing that people search for. I will mix up between, you know, I won't put table plan and seating chart in the same title now, even though they mean the same thing, they, you know, different searches, but I'll just make sure the other one is in the tags. And then I might put a core color or style or trend in there so that people can, you know, find it when they are searching for like sage green and eucalyptus wedding sign, right? So it's quite still being used for SEO reasons, but not stuffing every single keyword in like this. This is the old style way of doing it. And now we want to keep it really simple, really clear, and really obvious for our customer what it is we are selling. Okay, I'm just going to come and check there's no questions. Don't think so. And I'm going to see if there's any comments from our live view. But for some reason, it doesn't always come through on StreamYard. So just bear with. Can't see anything there either. Okay, cool. So how often should I publish new listings? This one is completely dependent on how much capacity you have, right? So the more you can list in your shop, the faster you are going to learn what works. So that is the only advice I can really give there. If you are literally like, I could be doing, you know, 10 listings a day because this is all I do and I want to make this work and this is like my full-time job and this is the only focus in my business, I could sit there and I could post 10 times a day and I'd be like, great, let's post 10 times a day. Let's see what happens. If you are like, well, I have a full-time job and I do this on the side and I've got the kids and I'm at work and I'm, you know, commuting and I'm busy and I've got 4 hours a week to work on this, you're not going to be able to do 10 listings a day, right? And that is completely unreasonable to expect that of yourself. And so I would really try and do the maximum that you can do in the time that you have got, but I would focus more on the quality of your listing than quantity, right? Because the problem I see a lot is, you know, with this advice, like just list more, that's great. But listing more products that aren't set up to sell is just a total waste of time, right? You might get an initial boost in views, but then it's kind of been hurried and rushed and nobody's really understanding what the product is. So then they're not going to go on and buy it. then we're just kind of busy fools almost, right? So I would really focus on, now you're in here, using the listing lab to, create your listing brief, create a bit of a structure for your listings. You can then, if you are selling similar products, really use that listing brief over and over again, which really speeds things up because you can just kind of take the same information a lot of the time and just kind of tweak things like style or color or, whatever it might be. And then focus on, creating one really, really good listing over 100, mediocre ones is always gonna give you the best results. What I would just kind of say around like quantity is just literally however many you can fit in, however many really good listings you can create and list in a week, right? When I was first starting out, I was probably listing 5, 10 in a week, and then maybe nothing for 3 weeks. When I really started to grow, I was listed maybe 2 or 3 every week, just kind of ticking things over. For the last 3 years, I have listed maybe 5 to 10 listings a year, right? Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's what I should have been doing, but I have just not had the capacity to do it. My business is too busy with actually creating the products and getting the wedding stationery out there. And then obviously I started this business as well. And I fell out of love with the Etsy business a little bit. Didn't really love creating products for it. Didn't feel very inspired for it. And so I have just left it alone. I have started to decline a little bit as a result. I'm still very much paying my bills. I know this is something I need to look at for next year to make sure I don't, fully decline or anything like that. But I also know that what I will do is go back to a cadence of posting maybe 2 or 3 listings a week and getting things back out there, right? Because if you think 2 or 3 listings a week over a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, etc. That's a lot of listings and a lot of products out there. And once you get to a point where you are starting to see consistent traffic coming in from those listings, you can then go, okay, this is what's working. You can start looking for patterns, right? This trend is working. This product is working best. This style is working best, right? And then really kind of double down in those areas and branch out from there as well. So I hope that makes sense. And then, hi, Yanina. Okay, I'm new here since yesterday and super tired, so I didn't manage to watch a lot here yet. That's okay, don't worry. There's plenty of time to watch everything. How long does it take until a shop gets good views? I did a masterclass for a POD Etsy shop, and the magic number we heard there was 100 listings. I reached that about 3 weeks ago. Also made a major mistake, chose English first, but decided to publish listings for Germany and in German. So I filled in the English fields with German text. Corrected that also in a bit more than 3 weeks ago. Shop is about 3 months old now. Okay, cool. So 100 listings in 3 months is really good. Obviously, that's a lot more than the 2 or 3 a week that I was mentioning then. So amazing. Congratulations on taking action. I don't know how much this would make a difference because I know that Etsy translates products for you. So if you're selling to an international market, you can list in your own language and then Etsy should translate it into other languages. Obviously, if you're wanting to sell to like the US, for example, then it might make more sense to list in English and then translate into German, because if there's a bigger market in the US for you, for example, or US, UK, English speaking countries, same goes for everyone. If you sell predominantly to a certain country that speaks a certain language, then it makes sense to list in that language. But Etsy should translate it for you unless you go and manually translate yourself. I know you can translate your listings. I've never personally done it, so I'm not 100% sure how that works. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's what you're meaning here. That's what you've done. You did it in English, but then you mixed the text up or something like that. But yeah, just know going forward, Etsy will translate it for you as well. Obviously, you might read the translation and think it's terrible, and you want to do it manually yourself anyway. But I know that is something Etsy does do. But then in terms of your question here, how long does it take until a shop gets good views? It very much depends on your product, your niche. I hate the word niche. If you're here for more than 5 minutes, you will you will start to learn this. I teach a customer-centric approach rather than niching down because personally, I just don't think that word is correctly used. But that's a story for another time. So it really depends. Like if you were, for example, launching a wedding stationery shop in the height of summer and, you just hit the right trend straight away, you might start to see really quick traction. Same goes if you launch Christmas products and you really just hit the perfect trend around like when Christmas gifting starts to pick up, then you might see really, really quick results as well. If you are selling a more evergreen product that maybe just has consistent demand year round, you're probably going to see a slower start because you're not getting that huge spike up for a certain trend. For example, Mother's Day goes absolutely wild for like a month, right? In March in the UK and then a little bit later in the US in May. And then it tails off for the rest of the year. But if you are consistently seeing that you are kind of building on your traffic each week or each month, then you're going in the right direction, right? So you might start to see like 1 or 2 views on a product, and then the next week you might see another 1 or 2 views, and then the next week you might see 3 or 4 views, the next week you might see 6 or 7 views. It does tend to be a slow climb, unless, like I say, you hit like the unicorn sort of perfect product market fit. You get the absolute, perfect design at the perfect time of year for the perfect customer. It's the right price, all the photos right. Like, and as a beginner, if you're just starting your shop, it's very unlikely that you're going to do that straight away. I've been doing this for 10 years and I still don't do that straight away. So yeah, it very much depends. There's no like black or white answer with it's going to be exactly 3 weeks or anything like that. But what you always want to be looking at is whether your traffic is starting to incrementally not decrease. We don't want it to decrease, increase every week, right? Or every month. So like I say, if you start seeing a few views here and there and it starts to incrementally increase, then you're on the right track. But huge congratulations with 100 listings already. Like, that is amazing for, first getting started. And then where do I best start with your videos? I would say start with, so if you come into the classroom, so next week we are starting the traffic challenge, which is going to be really beneficial for you, I think, because we are obviously focusing on getting more traffic to our existing shops. You can either start with the bootcamp, and I would just focus on day 1. So order in where you're up right now, and if there is, where you're at right now, and if there is anything you need to really kind of revamp or anything like that, because you've not been in business that long though. So you've not got like a year's worth of data to look at. You might not get a huge amount from that. So you can start either with the Etsy playbook, which is more the general overarching kind of business lessons, Etsy lessons, so I'll open this up and I'll walk you through it. We've got a lot of like mindset work and kind of getting into the right headspace. We have got your refining your business idea. So if you're like, if you've thought to yourself, I don't know if my niche is right, then this is the definite best kind of section for you to be looking at. If you're like, actually, I'm 100% sure that this is right, then you could have a look into the sort of setup side of things and start looking there. And then when it comes to listings, then you want to really look at the listing lab, which is here, right? So I do recommend everyone kind of goes through in order, but I know that's not always possible, and we might want to dip in and out with what time we have. And then, so that's kind of the order that I would look at things in. And then we have deeper dives into things here. So when you are ready for it, your brand Bible builder and bootcamp is going to go really deep into who you are creating for, what you want to be known for, how you're going to communicate that on Etsy and beyond, and really helps you to build a brand. You Make It Sell masterclass helps you to start getting really sort of narrowed in on certain ways to sell your products and ways to kind of set up your products in a way that really communicates to your customer the value of it, for example, or meets your customer in the right phase. And then Visibility and Content Lab, this goes into your selling on social, selling outside of Etsy, right? So obviously those things I would say are your second part. I would focus more on the Etsy side of things first up. But like I said, the traffic challenge, we're going live on Monday. We're going to start with basically blitzing through everything that you need to know, everything that I can possibly teach you about driving traffic to an Etsy business. So from your listings through to your shop setup itself, through to your organic content outside of Etsy, through to email marketing, through to paid traffic if you want to do that. So you can pick and choose which one of those you go with. And then we're going to start the consistency challenge from day 8, which is going to be daily consistency, daily prompts to make sure you are on track and checking in with each other and making sure we are just sticking to the goals that we set, right? So I hope that helps. Janina, I hope that's pronounced right as well. I think, did I just see? Okay, it's Natasha. Hey, Natasha. I was going to say, I just saw some comments pop up, so I'll come to you shortly. Okay, hey, Philippa. If you're a new shop and trying to build up more listings, is it best to split a product that has multiple uses, a rail that could be used in a bathroom or kitchen, to 2 separate listings, or could that just dilute reviews? No, this is a really good idea. So this is exactly what I recommend. I would really start to, so in the classroom where I talked about the Make It Sell masterclass, this covers that off in a lot of detail. So really positioning your product for a certain desire, pain point, something, maybe a trend, for example, whatever it might be, really start sort of setting up listings around one specific solution for your customer. And that way you have got more chances to stand out in search and more chances to get found by the different types of people, different types of buyers, right? So I absolutely recommend that you use more than one, you duplicate and create more than one listing. And I would make sure that you are also considering things like thumbnail testing, for example. So if you sell, like say it's a picture rail or I don't know what kind of rail it might be. I'm going to assume picture rail or something like that. You can use it in the kitchen, so you're showing it in a kitchen setup, but you can also use it in the bathroom, so you're showing it in a bathroom setup, right? So you might show it above the bath versus next to the pots and pans, for example. And then you would use different keywords in your tags and titles as well, right? Because we're going down different routes there. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea. And even if you can't necessarily use your product for different use cases, you might just test, for example, showing so if you look at, my listings up again, showing a mock-up like this versus a real life mock-up, right? So I have lots of products where I have it shown as like a mock-up versus shown in real life. And I will always try and have a good mix of those to also help get more visibility, and also to see which listings do the best and which types of products do the best as well, right? So I am just gonna, I've just realized I didn't do timestamps. You can all shout at me. This is something that I started doing last week, and then I forgot to start from this week. So I will just say like answered around the 1 minute mark. And then I will come to you, Janina, and I think this will have been probably like 7 minutes ago. So let's say like 15, roughly. And then Philippa, I will say answered around the 25 minute, let's say 23 minute mark, roughly. And then we'll move on to Bridget. Hey, Bridget. So answering around the 27 minute mark. Okay. At what point is there little hope for a listing that only has 1 or 2 views after months of being active, after research and SEO, fits in thumbnails? I know the answer is probably dependent on a lot, but I'm really struggling with visibility. Okay, yeah, great question. If after months of being active, it only has 1 or 2 views, we want to kill it and start again, right? And I mean that with, it sounds really brutal. And when I say kill it, I don't mean deactivate it or anything like that. But if you're only getting 1 or 2 views, there's something missing, right? There's something missing with the product market fit, with people, with it being found, like with the visibility of it. And so what you want to look at there is, you would want to look kind of at all of your listings, and any that are getting a handful of views, but not a lot, we want to look at, right, what is the reason for that, right? Are they, so for example, say you have two listings and they have had, 2 or 3 views in week 1, 1 view in week 2, and then nothing after that. And then it's kind of gone like 1 view here and there for like a month. There's either not enough demand for the product or the product range. So what you want to do is you want to go and have a look at whether you have market demand for that product. So for example, say I was setting up a wedding shop in December and I was like, I'm getting like 2 or 3 views on my wedding signs. Why is that? Well, it's probably because it's the wrong time of year, right? So am I just at the wrong time of year? Is it that this is something that's going to pick up later in the year, in which case we want to keep iterating, keep adding new products, but we might be a little bit early to launch because their searches aren't there, right? Because we have to think about Etsy, the marketplace. People are coming to Etsy to search for what they are looking for. It's not like, we put a social media post out there and it goes out to all our followers and our followers are like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know they sold that. I'm going to go and check it out. It's totally different mindset when people come into Etsy, right? They are coming to Etsy going, I'm redecorating, I've just moved house, I need some new prints. And they're searching for specific prints they're looking for. Or they are searching for, home decor, or they are searching for a gift for somebody who is, loves kind of tarot, for example, right? They're coming with a really specific purpose. And I taught you through this in the listing lab and in the Make It Sell masterclass as well in the classroom, about making sure we're setting up listings around the purpose that our customer is coming to Etsy for. So there's that part of it. There's the market demand part. The second part, if you're then going, right, I've set up a, let's come to Etsy. I've set up a, I'm trying to think of something that would be popular right now that isn't weddings, because weddings just going to come up with all of my products, because because I'm logged in. So if you are logged in on Etsy and you search for products, it's going to show you products that you look at, which are usually your own products. So we don't ever want to do that. It really skews our results. What would be probably a bestseller right now? What about like summer hats, for example? And I'm searching, I'm like, okay, bestseller, popular now, Etsy's pick, bestseller, right? It's going to be, there's demand for this product, right? There's loads of bestsellers on the first page. And even if there's not loads of bestsellers, try and slow down a little bit, best sellers, I might go into a product, for example, and look at the reviews and be like, okay, yeah, it's getting recent reviews, right? May and June reviews. So we know this item is selling right now, and we see that on a few listings, then we know that this is a popular product. So we are not, we've not got the market demand piece missing. So then the next thing I would go do is I'd be looking at my product, and I would have it up on one side, and then I would look at the search results on another side. I do this, like I say, in a private window or an incognito window, because otherwise you are going to have your results skewed by what Etsy already knows about you. So you want to do this in a private browser. And so I might pull my hat up and I might look at it over here, and then I might compare to what else is selling. And I might look for patterns where I go, okay, we've got a bucket hat. We've got, this is like a bride-to-be hat, so obviously very specific occasion led. This is a personalized kids hat. Another bridal hat, personalized again. We have got caps, personalized caps. Another personalized product is this. This is not personalized, so this is a little bit different. So if I'm selling like a crochet straw hat, I might be like, well, mine looks like this, but the one that's selling looks like this. So maybe it's that the brim is what people are wanting to see, or maybe it is that people want to see it worn, right? Because if we look at all of these bestsellers, they're pretty much, other than this one, they're pretty much all shown as worn shot, right? So I might then be going, okay, I clearly wasn't standing out enough in search with, say, this was my product with this image. So what I need to do instead is I need to make sure I am getting it shown on a model, right? So I'm just going to literally go and put the hat on. I'm going to go and stand outside. I'm going to get my husband to take a photo of me in it, right? I think everyone overthinks taking product photography and actually literally getting some natural light and a nice little pose. Like, this is clearly not a professional photo or anything, but it looks great and it's clearly selling, right? Again, same here. It just looks like somebody on the beach has got like someone to take the photo of it. I mean, these are great photos. I'm not slagging them off by any means, but even this, like, look at this. It's just taken in the studio, right? So just kind of consider that as well. And then I would be looking finally at my tags and titles. Your tags and titles are absolutely important, because without them, Etsy doesn't know, what your product is all about. So it's going to read through your listing, read the text in your listing, tags, titles, description, attributes, understand what your product is, and start matching it to search terms. However, the number one most important thing about your SEO these days actually tends to be your main thumbnail, because you could have exactly the same tags, titles, attributes, everything as this product. You put your product live, nobody clicks on it. Why? Because this is your image and not this, and people want to see that you do it in two colors, and they want to see it worn, and they want to see that people are wearing it on the beach, so that it's clearly, cool enough to wear in the summer, for example, right? So you do want to consider your tags and titles, make sure we are hitting enough of the right buyers. We are, being kind of nice and varied across our tags and titles. We're writing them in a way that search engines can understand what the product is, but the most important part is going to be your main thumbnail. And then once you get customers into the listing, the most important part then is to then move people through, get people spending time on your listing, favoriting it, adding to basket, purchasing, leaving great reviews, because that's what's then going to help you to get more visibility in search, because Etsy is going to prioritize. If we look at this page here, Etsy prioritizes products that sell, right? So you will get products that are maybe less popular that come up, because Etsy is always giving all the listings chances. So it's always, for example, when you put a listing live, Etsy is going, okay, this is a new sun hat. These are the keywords. Somebody has just searched summer hat. Let's see if putting, let's choose one. This perfect example, this product here. So it's got 4 stars, 4 reviews, sorry. So it's clearly not been selling, quite the same as like something like this. Testing it out, right? They're seeing how it does. So they're putting it up here against this. But if nobody clicks through to this, if it never gets any traction, ultimately after, an unspecified amount of time, Etsy doesn't tell us how long, but after a few days, for example, or weeks, or however long Etsy decides to give this listing a chance, and it doesn't get clicks, it's not going to keep giving that listing that space and that retail space when it could have this bestseller there that somebody's going to click on and buy, right? Because we don't, generally as consumers, we don't scroll and scroll and scroll and then go to page 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and keep going. if we don't find what we want, generally, you know, some people will do that, but generally, if we don't find what we want in the first couple of pages, we're giving up. We're like, this website doesn't have what I'm looking for. Or we go back to search and we go, oh, I didn't want a straw summer hat, or I wanted a, what other summer hats? Maybe I wanted a summer cap instead, right? I don't want to see the straw ones. I just want to see caps. And Etsy's still showing us straw ones. Like this is, I was going to say this is an ad, but it's not. But this is a bestseller. So it's still showing us for that search term because it's like, well, you might still want this because it sells really well. That's how much Etsy prioritizes products that are going to sell, right? And so obviously Etsy does give us more opportunity to get listings to start selling and start kind of getting more traction in search, because otherwise we would only ever see the products that sold and new listings would never get a chance. But ultimately at some point, another example here, this one might show for a while, nobody clicks on it, so it starts moving down in search, right? So the most important thing we need to do is get people clicking, get people favoriting, getting people to then, obviously it's a process, getting people through this journey, and then we will show up more in searches as well. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to come back over and check there's no questions on this. No, okay. Okay, so coming over into our questions, answering around this is where my maths gets a bit embarrassing, how it did last week, 36-minute math. Here we go. Hi, I'm new here. Hi, Gabrielle. Is this going to be recorded? For me, the time is midnight. Yeah, absolutely. So it's usually at the same time every week that we do this because it seems to be the only time that is generally best for most people. But yes, it's recorded. You can catch up whenever, and you can always submit in advance as well. So that's no problem. Okay, I was looking at a similar niche to mine, and product has 3 different options as well as the opportunity to personalize the wall art. The options are digital download, art prints, and canvas prints. I noticed they're all grouped together and this looks amazing. Is there a video and lesson on how to create an Etsy product like this? If so, where would I be able to find it? So product has 3 different options: personalization, digital downloads, art prints, and canvas prints. So I imagine you can't currently combine, to my knowledge, unless it's changed in the last week, digital downloads and physical products. But I imagine what you are seeing is this drop down. I don't know if that's the case, where somebody's kind of put in the option to have, you know, personalized versus non-personalized. And then in this drop down, it might be a digital version versus a canvas versus a wall art print, right? So I do the same thing in my listings where let's choose like this one, for example, where I have a printable version here. I will caveat this by saying it's not Etsy best practice, and I'm not 100% sure it's even Etsy legal anymore. However, I've been doing it that long that I'm just still doing it, and I need to just change my listings at some point. So I do have a printable file option because I do have people who come to me and go, you know, I'm getting married in Greece. Can you design it for me and just send me the PDF to have printed in Greece? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I do have that option here. However, it's really not recommended. You should on Etsy have a digital version and a physical version separate, right? So for my newer listings, I do that where like just if I put printable, you'll see like here, for example. So these are like my best-selling listings, and then I created them again in Canva templates for somebody who wanted to have Canva templates for it. So I created them for her. She bought them, and now, you know, I had to change them a little bit because I don't have the font licenses from my originals on Canva. But this is a digital download versus like most of my listings, which are physical, right? So I hope that makes sense. So I imagine that's what you mean in terms of how it's set up. The way that you do this is just through your variations. So I'll go with a new one. So you'll obviously have to fill everything else in first. But if you scroll down to item options here, I'll have to choose a category first, sorry. So let's just say like wedding sign, for example. So you can see here, you either have to put physical or digital. So you have to choose one or the other. So it's technically not allowed for me to put physical and then have a digital version of that, right? You need to have 2 versions, unfortunately. It would be great if Etsy would combine that. So then when you have chosen the right category, you come to your item options here, which is your variations, and you would choose add variation. And then you can either choose color, for example, that it's set up here, or we can create our own, which might be like sizing. So I might put size and then like A1 size, A2 size, etc. And click done. So then that's got my size variations. I can choose if the prices are different. I can choose if they take longer to process, if there's more of one versus another, if I have different SKUs, if I am managing anything outside of Etsy. Most people won't need this. And then I might add another one and say style, for example, and I might say pink version, red version, blah, blah, blah. And then I can go prices vary. And do they vary for size and style or size and style? So I might go, no. If somebody buys an A1 sign in pink or in red, they are going to cost the same. So I would just say they are different priced for the size, but not for the style. Same kind of goes here. And then when you click apply, you have all of your different variations here. So you can set your price for your different sizes. If I had changed this and I'd gone price vary for each style and size, it will say A1 size pink version, A1 size red version, and we set a price for each one, right? So that's your variations, and that's what basically comes up in your drop downs here. So you can have up to 2. And then where have we gone? You can also now change your personalization, which is pretty cool. So once upon a time, you could either have personalization on or off. Now you can have extra fields that people can do the data for. Now, I haven't set this up yet because, like I say, my listings have been live for that long. It's just something I've not had a chance to do. But we can basically have different personalization boxes here. So we can say, like this is one that I've clearly set up somewhere. Please send a list of guests to go under each. This is what my personalization normally is, sorry. Please send a list of guests to go under each table number or name, either in the box below or in an Etsy message. Set my character limit to the max. And I would say, like, they have to say this, right? So I'd click done, and then it would be the same for the other one. So I think like some of these, so this is like another text box. And then I think you can also you can either give them a list so they can choose different ones here, which is the same as similar to variations, or you can ask people to add a file upload here. So this might be the different things that you're seeing right now, right? Where people kind of say, tell me whether or not you want it in digital, tell me whether or not you want it in this style. It might just be people finding workarounds using the personalization upload as well. But this is basically where you do that. So I hope that helps, Gabrielle. And then coming over to, thanks, Catherine. Coming over to your question, Catherine. Okay, I'm running meta ads to my landing page for email list, but without huge success. I chose website views, but I know you mentioned lead ads. Would that be better? I didn't select that option because I wanted it to create a form and I wanted to go straight to my landing page. Have I missed something obvious? Okay, great question. Let me just answering around the 43 minute mark. Okay, so when you say without huge success, so yes and no. Are you missing something? Yes and no. So there is basically what the way that your meta ads work, and I am promise I'm going to go into meta ads next week in the traffic challenge because I know so many of you have been asking about this and I haven't taught it yet. So the way that your meta ads work, it's like a funnel, right? So you have, let me get my ads manager up so I can show you. You have different, not strategies. What's the word that they use? I don't want to use the wrong language and confuse you. Campaign objectives is the word I was looking for. So I would go create here, and then you can see like you've got these different objectives. This is basically like a funnel. If you imagine this list here, like the marketing funnel. So the top of the funnel is basically just like getting people into the top of the funnel, anyone who you just want to be aware of your business, right? So this is like generally my understanding of this, and I personally don't run awareness campaigns, but this is something that like big brands will likely run, right? They've got huge target audiences, huge customers, and they're just going, get this ad out in front of anyone who needs to be aware of like this campaign we're running, right? The next one would be traffic. So then you actually want to send traffic somewhere. So you want to get people to click on your link. You want to get them to your landing page. You want to get them to a sign up page. You want to get them to wherever. The only sole purpose of this one is to get people off the platform and onto your page somewhere. It might even be onto Instagram, for example. With this one, there is not, as we go down the list, there's more intent, right? There's more kind of purchase intent or more activity intent. So top of the funnel, message just like, get this in front of everyone, right? This one, get this in front of people who are likely to click a link. This one, get them in front of people who are likely to engage, leave a comment, click the call now button, send you a WhatsApp message, send you a messenger message, for example, right? The next one is people who are likely to give you their details. So this is technically the best ad to run for a lead form, for leads, to get people onto your email list. However, what you want to do is use the meta sign up form, right? Because basically what it means is it contains people in your in the platform, in the meta platform. They give you their details. They never leave Facebook. The details get sent to you, and then you can tell them to do other things as well. This is by far the best ad choice, the best campaign option for the objective that you have here, which is getting leads to your email list, right? So I won't go into deep detail now about how to actually set that up, because I'm going to go through it next week in the traffic challenge, and also because it's a little bit fiddly and like little kind of connections that we need to do outside of Meta as well. So it might take a little bit of a while. But this is going to be a better option. So creating your kind of your lead page is it's quite straightforward once you know how to do it, but it's a bit finicky because you need to connect it to your MailerLite or your email list in the background as well. But this is going to be a better one. So that being said, your traffic campaign isn't terrible because it's, I'm assuming you're still getting link clicks because that's kind of what you've basically told Meta you want to happen. So if you click this as an option, you've told Meta, I want people to click my link and go to this link that I've given it, right? What it might be is that you might be getting a good amount of clicks, but people are not then going to go and sign up for whatever reason. Or it might be that you have set up this lead ad and you've gone 20% off your order, and Meta's sending it out to people who it knows are going to click the product. Because you're new to the ads account as well, it's also kind of trying to figure out who your customer is, because one thing we need to do when we start using Meta ads is warm up our account, because when you first start, Meta has no idea who you are, anything about you, who buys from you, blah, 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 right? You can see like in my ad account, like I'll come out of here, I have got tons of ads I've ran over time to varying levels of success, and they have basically all of the data that I've gathered from the Meta ads that I've been running has told Meta who my customer is, right? And so then every time I now put ads live, Meta's like, okay, this person looks like a customer of Lauren, right? So show it's that person, and it starts to learn who my customers are, like, because obviously we all know Meta is very big brother. It knows a lot more about us than we think, and it knows, what videos we watch. It knows whether we're likely to where have we gone? Click a link, whether we're likely to watch a video, whether we are likely to engage on a comment. It understands a lot about us. It knows the kind of adverts that we click on, right? If you ever, see a nice top on an M&S advert and you click the ad and you have a little scroll and then you go back to Instagram, you're probably going to get another M&S ad, and then a White Company ad, and then a Boden ad, and then a H&M ad, and then a Zara ad, right? And it's kind of going, well, these are kind of all similar-ish companies in the UK, and this person is likely to like all of this stuff. So I don't know if you ever experienced this, but I find if I click one product, because I'm in a bit of a buy-in mood, I am inundated with ads from all of my favorite companies after that, and I end up spending money, right? Because it knows that it knows that I am clearly a good salesperson, right? Person to target with sales. So like I say, this goes through the funnel. Then obviously your sales ads are for sales. Please don't play around with sales ads with Etsy. It's going to cost you more money, and we don't have the pixel on Etsy, so it really doesn't work well in my testing. So basically, as you go down the funnel, these get more expensive. So your awareness ads are the cheapest, your sales ads are the most expensive, because it's basically you're telling Meta, I don't want you to show it to just anyone, or just anyone who'll click, or anyone who'll comment. I want you to find me the people most likely to buy, and so it costs us more money to get in front of those people, right? So lead ads would be your best one. You might have put something out there as well that just hasn't landed that well because, it's your first time running an ad, for example. The Meta doesn't know enough about you, doesn't know necessarily who your customers properly are yet. It's trying to figure that out. It also might be that maybe, say, for example, you've gone 20% off your next order, but it's not being shown to people who or 20% off your order, it's not being shown to people who are likely to buy. So then they're like, well, you've gone after a traffic ad, but you're saying they have to buy to get this thing, right? So we need to get the lead magnet right as well in that situation. For example, I tested a few lead magnets when I first started this business, and I've landed eventually on, if I just do, I don't know if I'll be able to find it now actually, because it was so long ago, but I had like a lead ad. I can't even see it there now. I had a lead ad basically that was a free SEO guide, right? So I was giving away free advice around SEO on Etsy. That did really well because I'm targeting Etsy sellers, right? So we need to make sure it's something that people want to give us our details for as well. So there's a few different things that might have caused that. That's potentially one of them, or potentially a few of them. And when I run the bootcamp next week, I'll go into more detail about how to set up those lead magnet ads so that they are setting up. Well, we're going to go through lead magnets anyway, but we're also going to make sure they're set up right and set up to do the most. Because the great thing about lead ads on Meta as well is we can not only get people signing up to our list via that form, but then we can get them to do a second action when they've done that, which in this case, or in our case, is going to be like followers on Instagram, right? So we're getting a double whammy. We're getting them on the email list, we're getting them to follow, and it's a really good low cost way to get people into your world as well. So I hope that makes sense, Catherine. Sorry, I can't go into a lot more detail now just because it would take so long to show you all the setup. Okay, so coming on to Jessica's comment, and it's around the 51-minute mark. Really had to figure that out then. Okay, I took your feedback on creating more entry-level listings and launched my first gift certificate. Yep, amazing. I'm planning to build this into a small studio essentials range with gift certificates, order forms, Photoshop lists, etc. I love that idea. Would you recommend I focus first on getting several gift certificate variations live for traffic, or should I alternate between different entry-level product types so the shop feels more varied? I would probably, look, if it's going to be really quick and easy for you to reskin the gift certificate and get, 10 different variations live, then that might be a faster way to work. Probably, though, I would lean towards getting, I'm just moving my Diet Coke out of the sun because it's following me around in the room, this sun. It's getting hotter and hotter. I'm trying to get away from it. Sorry. I would probably more focus on a variation there, because you never know. Like, it might be one of them where you put a gift certificate live and it does okay, but then you actually, when you put the Photoshop list live, it goes wild, because that's exactly what people are looking for right now. If you think like it's peak summer wedding season, right? So if people are like, oh my God, you know what, I really need a shot list, like that might be something they're buying right now. Whereas gift certificates might be something that they buy in over Christmas, where they kind of go, okay, wedding season's died down, I need to start now getting bookings in, so I'm going to still sell Christmas certificates for Christmas gift certificates, for example, right? And so I'm going to go and look for a template for that in November or October instead of July, right? So I'd probably think about it that way as well. What's most important right now for your photographers, right? Because they're working and they're working hard right now. What do they need imminently? Get those live first and just kind of work through it that way. So it's. If it wasn't as time sensitive, I'd probably say whatever's fastest. Like, because for me, I know reskinning a product and getting it live in different colors is going to be faster than creating a brand new product. But for you, I think right now, think about what is hot for your customer right now and go after that. But huge congratulations on taking action as well. I know you were thinking on that one, and I'm really glad you got them live. So, hey, Natasha, answering around the 53-minute mark. Okay, my bestsellers seem to lose their popularity the past few months, so my overall shop visits have gone down by 50%. Those designs are not my original illustration, so I eventually want to phase them out. What should I do during this period where I don't have a single or few bestsellers or listings that are at least bringing more views? I think my sales plummeting because of this. Okay, so this is really interesting, because I know I was chatting to you a little bit earlier about, you asked a question about the traffic, and then I asked if it was a certain product that was driving it or anything like that. They seem to have lost the popularity in the past few months. If these are products that have been live for a while, then you have got the problem that I have literally created a YouTube video about. I've just done that. In fact, I put it in our group as well. So it's on YouTube, but I've also just posted it before. Actually, I think I put it in the group for you as well. I think you tagged you in it. So it's this one. Stop waiting for your own bestseller to bounce back. And basically in it, I went through the product life cycle, which is just something that I am seeing so much of now. It's like, it's been a wave of people, right? So I have had like emails, DMs, people joining our school community, everything, just kind of going, oh my God, what has happened this year? And it's because of this product life cycle, right? For generally speaking, it's because of the product life cycle. There were some shifts at the start of the year with the algorithm as well that kind of mess a few things up. But if it's like tanking, all of your listings are starting to tank, this is what's happening. So definitely check this out. It's not that long, it's about 20 minutes. And I walk you through everything in there as well. But basically, let me just show you a really quick whiz through. So if I come to, let me just get up. In fact, I've got it up here. This one. How do I see my stats now? There we go. If I like show you this product, which is like the perfect example of this product life cycle, you can see here. So I listed it in 2022, got 3 orders. 2023, I got 60, 2024, 137, going crazy, loving it. You know, everything's going great. Last year, it dropped a little bit to 45. This year, it is flatlining at 14, right? It's still doing okay, but this is completely drops off a cliff. And this is the product life cycle in a nutshell. And what we need to do is we need to reiterate, right? So as soon as we start seeing this decline, as soon as we start seeing this product starting to go down the other way, it's going to be really hard to get it going again. Not only because it might have lost product market fit, and again, I go through all of this in the YouTube video in a lot more detail, it might have lost the product market fit, but it might also just be that if you think about the way that Etsy search works, and I said it at the start of the Q&A about how I had been coasting a little bit for years. I haven't been listing things. I've been listing, you know, literally maybe maximum 10 listings a year for like the last 2 or 3 years. And now it's catching up with me because my listings have all started to decline on this product life cycle and I've not been replenishing it. So if you think like this product's doing really, really well, you know, we were talking before about, I don't know if you watched all of the Q&A, but before we were talking about the best sellers. So like the summer caps, so like this one's doing really, really well and it's selling and selling and selling, but then somebody lists this one in this style instead with the little initials here. And this one starts to do really well. And so it starts to move up search, right? And this one's still doing well. It's still ticking along. It's going to do really well this summer, probably do all right next summer. But then somebody else lists this one that does really well. Then somebody else lists this one that does really well. And this shop hasn't listed anything else, right? It's just been coasting off this products. It's done all right for 2 or 3 years, starts to decline a bit, but they've not paid it much attention. But then this shop's listing again, and this shop's listing again, and this shop's listing again. And Etsy keeps testing these new products, and then all of a sudden a new product starts to sell really well. So Etsy starts showing it a little bit more. And over time, this listing is dropping and dropping and dropping because we're not adding anything else into the market either, right? This listing isn't declining because we are not adding new listings. I just mean this is what happens with listings, right? It's very rare that you get an absolute unicorn that just sells and sells and never stops selling because most things will lose product market fit. These caps are relatively generic. They're probably not going to suddenly not be popular right anymore. But like I remember us talking about, Natasha, the sardine trend, right? This is clearly still something that's quite popular. This maybe just starts becoming more popular than this. Or like this style of cap starts becoming more popular than this style. Or these colors start becoming more popular than these. Or this textile starts becoming more popular than that, right? And over time, it's just the market just shifts very slightly. And because this other listing has come into the market and it's a bestseller and it's doing really well, just eventually we start to decline, right? And that is exactly what everyone is seeing right now who has been live for a couple of years. They have maybe been coasting off the back of some older sellers. They've maybe not found anything that is doing as well as those older sellers. And then ultimately at some point they start to decline and our overall traffic follows the same trend, right? And you can really see it's just a perfect example. And all of my listings are doing the same thing right now because they are losing product market fit. There's nothing wrong with this sign. It's still quite popular, but people don't want not as many people want this sign versus the signs they are buying right now, right? So it might be for me, like one thing I am noticing is like this script font style is getting a little bit less popular. This kind of serif font is a little bit more dated than maybe the ones that people are using. And if we come into, it's going to be, again, really hard to show you anything accurate because I'm not in an incognito browser and I'm only sharing this window. So I can't show you an incognito browser. It's not going to let me show you an accurate search results, right? It's going to show me all of my listings when I do this. But if I try and think of like disco ball, for example, wedding sign. I mean, I'm probably behind the times with disco balls as well. I feel like they were last year as well. Like, say, for example, maybe it's this style that's really trendy right now. So it's shifting to this, right? Or like this style is more popular than my script style. And so more people are buying this. And so mine starts to move down and down and down in search, right? Because these are being added and they're more popular. And that's just what happens, right? That's just the nature of e-commerce. It's the nature of Etsy. It's the nature of small businesses. And we just need to keep iterating and adapting. So just back to your question in general, I would say that's exactly what is happening. So definitely check out this video because I walk you through like the kind of 5 signs to spot as well. And how to fix them. But the big thing is it's focusing on, okay, how are we moving with the market? So in my example, I'm looking at like, I'm looking at like what's selling really well. So let me just put like black wedding sign, because I don't use, most of my designs are like pink and stuff. But I mean, it's still bringing my own designs up. I might see this and be like, okay, shaped wedding signs are really popular right now. Or like this bestseller, okay, banner signs are more popular right now. Or that one that I showed you before where the font style was more popular. This is this kind of, whatever this is. I obviously don't know how to make these, but, a lot of these banners selling really, really well. So I need to adapt and move with the time. So I might need to consider if my format needs changing, or I might just need to consider, well, actually, do I need to look for using slightly different fonts, right? And one thing I'm noticing right now here is the mock-ups that I use, I'm seeing quite a few of them on here. So I'm probably starting to blend in with people that are buying the same mock-ups as me. So it might be going back to the drawing board, buying some new mock-ups, right? Making it look different. You can see like, this is like two different sellers like with the same mock-up here. Even just this, like that's mine here, but it's cropping off the sides because this is such an old sign that I haven't created it in a way that it looks right on a more kind of portrait thumbnail, and so it's cropping off and maybe just doesn't look as good as some of the other ones, right? It could just be as simple as that, but it needs to just keep on top of it. Like this is a mock-up that I used. It's coming up. I saw another one. This one is mine. But like I've seen, it might just be that I just need to adapt with the design style, the trends, the style of the photos, anything like that. But that's what I need to go back to the drawing board and start going, okay, how do I move my signage on for 2027 now for me for wedding season, but for 2026, 2027, so that I am not being left behind by the market, right? Or so that I am still competitive, or so that I am still getting in front of the right buyers. So I hope that makes sense. And then just looking at your second question, I won't put a timestamp because we're just flowing into the next one. You're thinking about selling puzzles from print on demand, what is a good profit margin for this category? I can't seem to keep the price down without sacrificing quality, but I also can't make profit if I price below 35. I don't understand how some sellers can sell puzzles for much cheaper on Etsy. Okay, so we don't need to compete on price, providing that we are offering something that our buyers can't get from someone else, right? So I never compete on price. That you can see in some of these. Like when I search through here, like a lot of these signs are a lot cheaper than mine. So starting from 17, that's a printable file. My sign starts from 60, right? But I'm seeing here like 25, 32, 31, blah, blah, blah. Like I have had plenty of bestsellers without having to compete on price, right? Because I communicate why my signs, not why they're more expensive. I don't say that I'm more expensive, but I communicate a lot more value. I communicate, delivery times. I communicate how the process works. I do a good job of communicating to the point where people understand why they're trusting me, right? And I also have 19,000 sales and however many reviews that make people think, oh, that's probably a more secure choice. So you can kind of, you have different kind of levers that you can pull based on some of the social proof that you have that will then make people maybe trust you more as well. So I know you've got great reviews. People are going to see those great reviews and be like, okay, well, this is a trustworthy product, right? So we definitely don't need to compete on price. That being said, if this is a really competitive space, then you might want to start a little bit at a bit of a lower price to get things off the ground. So I think we've talked about this before, but starting like slightly lower and then potentially, starting with a launch sale, for example, like with a launch discount, and then seeing how you go from there and, getting that initial kind of traction on the products. If it's very competitive, if you've got thousands of people selling these products and they are doing, infinitely better than they're not infinitely better. They are getting lots of bestsellers and they're, doing really, really well, then it's going to be hard to break in. And so that's why we might want to start going live at a similar-ish price. The question around what a good profit margin is, only you can answer that, like what you're comfortable making profit margin wise. So for me with print on demand, if it's very hands-off and I don't touch it, I'm relatively happy with a 20% margin, right? If it's like set it up once and never have to touch it again, 20% of that profit margin is pretty good. Any more than that is great. For physical products, I want a minimum of 50%, more like 60% profit. Otherwise it isn't worth my time, because if I'm having to sit and create a product and edit a product, and send it to print and deal with deliveries and potentially deal with, refunds if something goes wrong and things like that. I want a buffer and I want to be making enough money as well. So it very much depends on how much profit you want to make as well. And then you set your prices, not your customers, right? So you set your prices based on what you want to make, not because you think you need to be the cheapest on the market. So you could set a price that you're comfortable with, maybe launch with like a discount, like a sale on it, to kind of bring you in line with some of the other customers so that you make maybe a little bit less margin on your first sales. And then if you get some great reviews, you can get a bit more traction, you can take that sale off and you sell at your full price, right? So just disclaimer there, you need to make sure you are reading through all Etsy's terms and the handbook on fair discounting policies, because they're really cracking down on that stuff. So, not being in sales all the time and things like that, which we already know here. But the reason that somebody might be selling it cheaper than you is that maybe they're selling it and creating it themselves in their own workshop. Maybe they have a supplier that's local that sells them for cheaper. Maybe they are not making a lot of profit, like a lot of people on Etsy do. I see people all the time selling like digital downloads for 50 cents. It's like, well, so after your listing fee and your 20%-ish, 15 to 20% fees on Etsy, you're making like next to nothing price-wise. And so what volume of products would you have to sell for that to be remotely worth it, right? So some people just aren't considering the fact that they're not making any money, right? We hear this quite a lot where people are like, oh yeah, I sold thousands of products and then realized that I was basically making next to nothing, because not everyone is on it with their profit margins as well. So it is potentially any combination of those things. I have a print on demand partner that is not a typical, so I use printed.com in the UK, not a typical print on demand partner, get better rates from them because I've been working with them so long. So I can offer my signs a bit cheaper than maybe somebody who is going to like a gelato, for example. So, that there's many different things there, but I would very much, focus on quality rather than sacrificing the quality. Make sure you are making a margin that you're comfortable with, and then somewhat, looking at the market to check that people will actually obviously buy at the price that you set, because ultimately, if there is a ceiling for the products that you are creating, then you're gonna have to work really, really hard to sell it for more. For example, like if you think about a t-shirt, right? So my t-shirts from H&M, it cost 10 quid maybe. I could buy this exact same t-shirt from Gucci for probably 200, right? And there's probably nothing different about it other than the brand name. It's just known brand, right? So they can get away with charging more. Most products, though, have a ceiling. So you probably wouldn't go to Etsy and see a t-shirt for £200 and go, oh yeah, I'm going to buy that over the one that's £12, because there's a sort of mental ceiling for what people are willing to pay. However, if you are a known name on Etsy, or you're kind of promoting outside of Etsy and people know that you hand make your t-shirts with merino wool, and you are hand knitting them, and they are fair trade, and they are unique one-off pieces, and you love this brand, then maybe you would spend £200 on this brand for just a t-shirt, right? Because the value is there. The value to you as a customer is there with that product. So it's just something to consider there. If you're there kind of going, well, I need to charge higher because my products are more premium, then you need to make sure you're communicating that this is a really premium product, right? And thinking about who's buying. So with a puzzle, is it a gift? Is it is someone buying as a is it kind of a maybe more high-end customer with a bigger budget, with a bigger disposable income, who wants quality over price? Like they're not bothered how much it costs. They want to make sure it's amazing quality, because there's something we have to remember is there is hundreds of thousands, millions of people in the world who don't care how much something costs, right? As long as it is answering the need that they want. Most people don't care how much something costs, how much product costs, as long as it is meeting their desire, within reason, because most people, potentially wouldn't have £200 to spend on a t-shirt, regardless of whether it's exactly what they wanted. But if you think about things that maybe you splurge on, someone else might not, right? So I spend my money on experiences. I spend my money on I like going out eating and drinking, things like that, but I don't spend my money on, I don't know, premium makeup. I don't spend my money on clothes. Like I buy my clothes from Tesco and H&M. Like I'm not ever going to be Gucci's customer, right? It's just not my interest in that. But will I upgrade and spend more on a really nice hotel or a really nice travel experience or an amazing restaurant? Yeah, absolutely, because that's where I like spending my money. So you really have to kind of think about who your customer is as well. And I know we spoke about this with your customer in the past, where you probably do have a more premium customer because you're not a cheap option, right? You're not a low cost option on Etsy because you make sure you are using premium print partners and framed products, and you have this giftable experience where the product is higher quality. You just have to make sure you're communicating that. So I'd really think down that route as well. So I hope that helps. So I think that is all the questions. I'm going to give this a quick refresh, make sure I haven't missed anything. Where have we gone? And huge congratulations, Hannah, for hitting 1,000 sales. And Agatha, and everyone else who's been sharing your wins recently. It's been really inspiring to see it. Okay, I don't think there's any more questions. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope everyone is excited for the weekend. I am getting really warm in this room now, so I'm going to go and take my fan into a dark room and try and cool down a little bit, I think. But I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, all of you. If there's any follow-up questions, please let me know in the group. I will be more than happy to help. And if I don't speak to you before, I will absolutely happily catch you in the challenge next week.